Hello everyone, welcome back. So in today's lesson, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some exercises using quadrilaterals, or you can say quads. Now, these questions are going to be similar to the questions you've done before using triangles and parallel lines, but remember, there's going to be some reasoning which you may not have come across before, so be prepared for it. Okay, so let's get started. Now, before I start this exercise, I'm just going to go through some prep quiz questions just to give you a warm-up of how it's all going to work. So let's take a look. So in this question, find the value of x. So as you can see, x is just going to be what? 120 degrees because of co-interior angles, right? And y is, as you probably already know, 60 degrees, alternate angles. Question 3, how do you find the value of m? Well, as you can see, m is just going to be 80 degrees because of co-interior angles. And n is going to be what? 105 degrees co-interior angles. For this question, how do you find a? Well, a is going to be 50 degrees because it's a base angle of an isosceles triangle. And if a is 50, b is going to be 80 because angle sum of a triangle. For the parallelogram shown, find the value of a. Okay, well, a is just going to be what? 110 degrees because of co-interior the angles. Okay, and b is just going to be 70 degrees. And the reason for that is because the opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. So just to reiterate, b is going to be 70 degrees because opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. And c is just going to be what? Well, c is 110 degrees of co-interior the angles, right? So the angle sum of a quadrilateral, as you probably already know, is 360 degrees. Alright, so let's just go through some worked examples first. So I'm just going to do question 1. Now I'm going to do it in my own way, not the way the solution provides you, just so that it becomes more clear as I do this question. Okay, so let's take a look. ABDC. So ABDC is a parallelogram. So remember, when you write a quadrilateral, you need to label all the points. So A, B, D, C. So when you have a parallelogram that's like this, it's A, B, D, C. It's not A, B, C, D, okay? Some people may think the way you label it based on this diagram is A, B, C, D. That's incorrect. Find the value of x. Okay. So just like the method that I used in the past, we know this is 105. We're trying to find what x is. So first step is this. We can find out what this angle is, right? Because that's vertically opposite. And the second step, now there's many different ways to do it. There's the quick way and the short way. So the quick way is to just go straight to step 2 and say, because it's the opposite angles of a parallelogram, they're equal, right? The slow step would be to work out what this angle is using co-interior, and then using co-interior again to work out this angle, which you can do as well, but why do it the long way when there's a shorter way to do it? Okay, so let's start writing the reasons. So we can say angle BDC is equal to 105 degrees. And the reason? Vertically opposite angles. Opposite angles. Now, I don't recommend writing the short reasons that they have here. I want you to write the full word. Vertically opposite angles. And then you can say angle BAC is equal to 105 degrees because opposite angles of a parallelogram. Make sure you spell parallel right. Parallelogram. Alright, and then you can say therefore x is equal to 105 degrees because x is angle BAC, right? So that's how you do a question like this. So make sure you structure it out correctly. And this, as you can see, this kid over here is saying opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. So make sure you remember this. It will save you a lot of reasoning. All right. Let's take a look at question 2. Question 2. Okay. So in this question, AF is equal to BF, as they've labeled the two lines here. Find the sides of angle X, give reasons. Okay, so now it might take you some time to figure it out, but because I'm more experienced, I can see the answer straight away. So what you can do is find this angle first. using angle sum of a quadrilateral, right? Because we know that ACDE is a quadrilateral. 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Once you work out this angle, you can say this angle is going to be equal because it's a base angle of an isosceles triangle, right? Because these two sides are equal, the base angle should be equal. So let's start writing the reasons. So angle BAF plus 70 degrees plus 132 degrees plus 110 degrees is going to be equal to what? 360 degrees, right? And the reason for this, angle sum of a quadrilateral. Quadrilateral. Okay, and then so you can say angle BAF is equal to, well, 360, take away this, take away this, take away this. So I'm just going to use my calculator here. 360, take away 70, take away 132, take away 110. 48 degrees, okay? So 48 degrees, okay. Now, because we know that these two sides are equal, so we know that AF is equal to BF, then you can say angle ABF is also equal to 48 degrees. And the reason for that is it's a base angle of an isosceles triangle, right? Of isosceles triangle. You see, pay attention that I'm writing the full words for these reasons. Alright, so then, now we're pretty much done. So we found out angle ABF, and that is x. So therefore, x is equal to 48 degrees, and we are done. Okay, so that was pretty straightforward. Alright, and the last question, question 3. Now, question 3 is going to have a bit of a funky reasoning, so make sure you pay attention. When I say funky reasoning, what I'm saying is you may not be familiar with this reason because I have not covered it yet. Alright, it says ABCD is a rectangle, find the value of x, give reasons. So if you still remember the properties of a rectangle, we know that the two diagonals are equal. So we know that AC is equal to BD, right? The two diagonals of the rectangle are equal, and they also bisect each other. What that means is they cut each other in half. So that means AE equals to EC, DE is equal to EB, and they're all equal, right? So we know that EB is actually equal to EC, right? So that can be our first step. And once we know that they're equal, then we can just say x is equal to 70 because base angle of an isosceles triangle. Okay. So, but the thing is, in this question, so you can't go straight to saying angle ECB is 70 degrees, base angle of an isosceles triangle. So you need to show why it's isosceles. So what you can say is EB is equal to EC, and you can say diagonals of a rectangle are equal and bisect each other. So it's a pretty long and funky reason, but this is enough to show you to the marker that EB and EC are equal. And what they say here is pretty much the same. Diagonals of rectangle bisect each other and are equal. So once we've shown that EB is equal to EC, then we can say, therefore, the angle ECB is equal to 70 degrees, base angle of isosceles triangle. So isosceles triangle. And then we can say, therefore, x is 70 degrees, right? So make sure you remember this reasoning, because in the exercise, it's going to come up again. And make sure you understand. So what this is saying is, so I'm going to explain again because there's a lot going on. Diagonals of a rectangle, so it's the AC and the BD. These are the diagonals. They're equal, right? And bisect each other means the diagonals cut each other in half. So this diagonal cuts, so AC cuts BD in half, and BD cuts the AC in half, right? So that's what that means. Right, so time to go through some homework questions. Well, I'm not going to go through too many because that will just ruin the fun for you. So let's just take a look at question question C. Okay, let's say 1C. So I'm just gonna cut this question out. Let's take a look. Right. So how do we do this? Well, we know this angle, so we know that this is going to be the same, right? So that's just step one, vertically opposite, and then the angle sum of a quad, right? So this one's pretty easy. So now we just have to write it. So angle CBE is equal to what? 110 degrees, and the reason? Vertically opposite angles, right? Vertically opposite angles, and then you can say angle CDE plus 60 plus 110 plus 90 is equal to 360 degrees, right? And you probably already know this exercise is called exercise using quadrilaterals. So you can expect most questions to have a kind of reasoning that looks like this: angle sum of a quadrilateral, right? Angle sum of a quadrilateral. Okay, so then angle CDE is equal to what? So I'm just going to do this in my head. So this is 100 degrees, okay? So therefore, x is equal to 100. Well, x is equal to 100 because the degrees is already written for you. Alright, so that's 1C out of the way. Let's take a look at a slightly harder question. So let's take a look at 2C. So how do we do 2C? Okay. So what are you trying to find? Angle, the ABC. Okay, so in this case it's not angle X, but angle the ABC. So we're trying to find this angle here. So how do we do that? Well, let's take a look. So, oh wait, sorry, it's actually not that angle, but the one that's the highlighted. Okay, so I can already see the answer, and how you can do it is this. So you can find out what this angle is, right, by using angle sum of a quadrilateral, because we know these three angles, so we know what the fourth one is, and then we can work out what this angle is using what? Base angle of an isosceles triangle, right? So let's just write the reason. So angle CAB plus 95 degrees plus 80 degrees plus 115 degrees is going to be 360 degrees. And that's what angle sum of a quadrilateral. So quadrilateral. Excuse my poor spelling, but yep. And then you can say angle CAB is equal to, so what is this, turn to 90, so that's 70 degrees, right? Alright, and once we know that this is 70 degrees, we can say that angle CBA is also 70 degrees because of what? Base angle of isosceles triangle. Because remember, angle CBA is an isosceles triangle, and these two angles are the base angles of isosceles triangle. And then once you're done with that, then yeah, actually I shouldn't have written angle CBA because the question says angle the ABC, but I mean they're basically the same angle, so I'm just going to change this to ABC, right? And that's your answer. It says find the value of ABC, and I found the value of ABC. Right, let's take a look at a slightly harder question. Now let's just do question 4A. So I'll let you do question 3 by yourself, because it's all kind of the same thing. Let's take a look at 4A. 4A is probably going to be a bit harder. As you can see, the shape just looks a bit more complicated, but let's take a look. So, how can we do this? So how do we find this angle? So we know that angle EAD is an isosceles triangle. So basically, if we can find out what this angle is, angle EAD, then we can work out what AED here is, right? So how do we do that? Okay, so what we can do is this. So we can work out this angle first, right? Because that's just opposite angle of a parallelogram. And then we can work out what this angle is, right? Using supplementary angles, or you can say angle sum of a straight line. Once we know what angle AD is, we can actually work out what angle AED is, because once we know one angle in an isosceles triangle, we can work out the other two angles. Right, so let's do it. So we can say that angle ADC is equal to 70 degrees. Opposite angles of a parallelogram. Angles of a parallelogram. And then we can say angle ADC, ADE, equals to 110 degrees. And the reason for this, if you want to write the shortest reason, it's basically supplementary angles. Because supplementary angles means angles that add up to 180 degrees on a straight line. Oops, forgot to write the angles. Alright, so then what we can do is this. So we know that angle EAD is equal to angle AED, right? Because what? Base angle of an isosceles triangle. Base angle of isosceles triangle. So then because of that, then we can say angle AED plus angle AED plus 110 degrees is equal to 180 degrees, right? Because we know that these two angles are equal. EAD equals to AED, right? So we can just say angle AED plus angle AED plus 110 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. Because normally what we'd write is angle AED plus EAD plus 110 is 180. But because we said these two angles are equal, so we can just say angle AED times 2 plus 110 equals to 180 degrees. And that's the angle sum of a triangle. A triangle. So then we can say, therefore, and then so you can say angle AED is equal to, or 2 times angle AED is equal to 70 degrees. Angle AED is equal to what? 35 degrees. So therefore, x is equal to 35 degrees. Right. So I hope this is quite clear to you, as you will come across these kind of questions a lot where they give you the non-base angle of an isosceles triangle and you have to work out like one of the other angles. So I assume you guys know how to work out the angle, but writing the reasoning can be a bit awkward. So this is one way how you can write it. So I'll just explain it again. Angle EAD is equal to angle AED because they're base angle of isosceles triangle. So then you can say angle AED plus angle AED plus 110 degrees, which is angle EDA, is equal to 180 degrees, and that's angle sum of a triangle. So then you can just solve this equation. 2 times angle AED plus, well, is equal to 70 degrees. So I take away 110 from both sides. And then angle AED is 35 degrees. So therefore x is 35 degrees. Okay. So I hope this is quite clear to you. I mean, I think you guys probably know how to find x if you didn't have to write reasons. But writing the reason can be a bit, it can be a bit awkward. But I hope you guys understand. Alright, so that's all for today. Thank you for listening.